Grab your planner and a beverage and let's reset for March. I realize that we are almost halfway into the month and I am just now sitting down to record this video, but February just kind of ended and March started off with a bang. And so this is the first chance I've gotten to catch my breath and get into it. But let's talk about our goals, what we read, do some journal prompts, and just have a little chit chat. But first, if you're new around here, hello, my name is Lydia Senn, and I make videos on frugal and simple living. We're a debt-free family of 6, and I talk about how to save time and how to save money because I do believe that you can do both. So if that's what you're into, I would love for you to subscribe, hit that like button, and join our community. So February went by in a flash. I was thinking about this, how I was going to structure this video yesterday while I was in the car, because so much happened, so many good things, so many little things, so many just arbitrary things that aren't going to matter to you. But February was such a sweet little month for our little family. And then March immediately was so busy. I think February can feel like one of those, it can either feel like the real beginning of the year or a throwaway month. And for me, it felt like the real beginning of the year for a number of reasons. The first one is we started a brand new schedule. So my daughter does therapy. She has autism. She has therapy every single day. And we moved from therapy in the middle of the day to first thing in the morning because that works so much better for our family. We're able to go, pack up our school stuff, go have school at that building for 2 hours while she does her therapy. And then we have the rest of the day to either finish school or do whatever we want to do. And so our old schedule, we would start our school day, and then in the middle of it, it would come to a screeching halt. We would go, and it would just be hard to get the kids back into that school mindset. And so while it was a bit of a challenge to get up early and get out the door every single day, we've developed a really good routine, and I'm really proud of all of us. And it's a walking distance to a library. And they're opening a coffee shop on the other side. So I'll be walking distance to that too. Everything's coming up roses. I had a big certification exam in February, and so I was happy to be done with that and get that out of the way and tick towards being finished with my certifications and just being done. Who knows at this point? My dad, if you didn't know, my dad had a stroke New Year's Eve. He completed inpatient therapy and got to come home, and he's doing great. He's thriving. I had gotten my parents symphony tickets for Christmas, and they ended up not being able to use them. And I was like, you know what? We're going to do a makeup date. And so I am excited for my dad to get to the point where he feels confident to go out and do things like that and get them a new set of symphony tickets. I had been really excited about that gift, and so I think we were all a little bummed. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad that my dad is alive and he is thriving. And my mom was basically able to save his life. They were sitting out on their back porch on New Year's Eve, and he said to my mom, "My hand feels funny." And she said, "Look at me, your face is drooping." And my mom remembered the acronym FAST, which is face, arms, speech, and time. So she said, "Look at me in the face, say your name." And his face was drooping, so his speech was impaired. He couldn't raise his arms. And she looked at the time, called 911. They sent a helicopter to come and get him. Well, last week, my mom sent me a video. She said, "I thought I heard the helicopter." I think she's got a little bit of PTSD. And it was your dad driving the lawnmower. Now, he wasn't mowing the grass. He was just riding the lawnmower up and down their driveway. They have several acres, but he has a little cane that he's using. And so to go from having complete paralysis on one side to being able to drive your own lawnmower and walk with a cane in a matter of months is huge. And so I really do believe in my heart that we're going to see a full recovery. I took my mother-in-law to a ladies' tea. That was fun. And then Jason and I got to go on a date. And so it's always nice to hang out with him and spend time with him. And I was telling him something that was bothering me, not something that he had done, but something that I had read on the news. And the news doesn't normally affect me, but this was a situation that just was upsetting. And I had told him first thing in the morning. And then I said, "I'm sorry that I'm running my mouth about this first thing in the morning." And he said, "I just like it when you talk to me. I don't care what it's about. I just want to talk to you." And so it was nice to go on a date and just sit and have adult conversations. So let's talk about some things that I have enjoyed in February. So I read 4 books. So I'm going to talk about the books I read and the books I'm going to read, but also just some other silly things that I enjoyed. So one of the things that I really have enjoyed is the Betrayed podcast. I listen to it on Spotify. It's a little crazy. The first season is about a woman who marries her college boyfriend after, like, he's gone on and married somebody else and gotten a divorce. She's had a whole career. They reunite, they get married, and then he is not who she thought he was. It has had me on the edge of my seat. All right, so let's talk about a few books that I read in February. I read 4 books, 2 children's chapter books, they count, whatever, and 2 adult classic Pulitzer Prize winner and 1 modern book. Okay, so the 2 children's books were Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I had never read before. I read it with my kids. We all loved it. And the Willy Wonka movie kind of fits, with Gene Wilder. It's, of all the Wonka movies, and there are too many, who asked for there to be so many? We don't need any more. Thank you. But of all of them, the Gene Wilder one seems to fit the book the most closely, except Charlie has a dad. Where's the dad? He works in the toothpaste factory until he's replaced by a robot. The second book was The Mysterious Benedict Society, so book 1, and we really enjoyed that one. The narrator, we actually listened to it together, and the narrator was really cool. And then I read 2 books on my own. One was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. I had never read it. I never saw the film. I never saw the musical adaptation. And so I saw it at the library and realized I've never read this. I would like to read more Pulitzer Prize winning books. I started weeping in chapter 1 and I didn't stop until I got to the end. Nobody told me, so I'm going to tell you. It was beautiful. It is absolutely worth reading, but it will shatter your heart. I had a very base knowledge of The Color Purple because it is, a cultural tentpole, because it's permeated pop culture. It's very famous. It's very celebrated for a reason, but the basic outline is a young Black woman in Georgia named Sally faces a lot. She goes through a lot. And it can be difficult to read at times, but it is a beautiful story about what happens when misunderstandings and lies happen, and losing love and finding love and forgiveness. It was a journey. The second book I read is a complete 180. I almost hate to talk about it right after talking about The Color Purple because it was absolutely bonkers. But it was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So at this point, I had only read 1 Grady Hendrix book, which was the Final Girls Support Group, which I talked about like over a year ago, 2 years ago probably. But this was about a sibling pair, Louise and Mark, who are adults. Their parents die in a tragic car wreck. They have to sell their house. Their mother was a puppeteer, and there is a haunted puppet that lives in the house. It was the craziest, most unhinged book that I have ever read. I'm not recommending it, but I loved every freaking second of that book. I was on Instagram basically reacting in real time because some of y'all on there had read it too. You warned me. It was crazy. At one point, I'm sitting in the bed reading it. My husband's standing in the bathroom brushing his teeth, and he hears me audibly gasp from the next room. It's dark humor. It's campy. The book knows what it is. It's not trying to be anything that it's not. It was weird. It's horror, light horror. But yeah. So for March, I'm reading another one of his book called Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, which is about a pregnant girl's home in the 70s. So the next book I'm reading is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyenkon Braithwaite. I Googled how to pronounce it because I did not want to butcher her name. So it is a dark comedy about, what does it say? A Nigerian woman whose younger sister has a very inconvenient habit of killing her boyfriends. Cool. It is Cherish Farah by Bethany C. Morrow. and it is a social horror, as they call it. I really don't know, but the librarian said, hey, I think you're gonna love this one, and handed it to me, so I checked it out. I also watched Apple Cider Vinegar on Netflix. If you don't know what that is, it is the story of Belle Gibson. She was an Australian influencer who faked having cancer and then cured her fake cancer with apple cider vinegar. So what are some goals for March? So in March, we have a ton of school stuff. We had History Day, which I will talk about in my March video. We have a science fair, and I'm the science teacher, so that's it doesn't all fall on me, but there's a lot of stuff I need to do for that. We had a family vacation, which I'll talk about in my next video. It was awesome. What else? A family birthday. So just lots going on. So I don't have a ton of goals other than to just manage those schedules. So much of family management falls on me, which is I view that as my job. And then my other job is just like a side gig, but the mom thing is my job. And so managing that day to day the best I can really is my goal. Let's do some journal prompts. If you're new here, I like to end all these videos with a little bit of a journal prompt. Okay, since we're coming into spring, how do you connect with nature during March, and what new outdoor activity or practice could you try to nurture that connection? So I like the time change. I need more daylight in my day. I get really affected by the lack of sunlight during the winter. It doesn't get particularly cold here, but I feel like Eep at the beginning of the Crudes, when she's holding her hand up and trying to get as much sunlight as she can. That's how I feel in the winter. I need it to come back. So I just am excited to have open windows, be outside with my little sun hat on, go for some walks. Also, it will be getting warm here soon, so I am excited to go to the beach, take my kids down, splash around in the Gulf of Mexico, have some fun in the sun, so that's exciting. How can you embrace your creative side this season? What is something you've always wanted to try or create? So one of my goals a couple years ago was to find a hobby, and I didn't do that. I did not do that. But I am going to start. I already got a punch embroidery kit, and so I'm going to be trying that out in March. Is it going to be perfect? No, but I'm going to try. I just want something tangible that I do, and then I look at and say, I did that, and nobody ate it. I'm not a creative person. Okay, so that's it. I would love to know, what are your answers to any of these journal prompts? Leave me a comment below and tell me. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you soon.